We welcome now Sebastián Álvarez Morena, co-founder and co-owner of Eau d'Italie. Your brand is born in one of the most beautiful places in Italy.
Yes, the brand was born in Positano and it was made to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Hotel Le Sirenuse, which belongs to my wife and her family. We made a first fragrance that, in which we wanted to make what for us was an Italian eau de toilette in the 21st century, and it wasn't a commercial project, it was something we wanted for the hotel, for the boutique hotels, the boutiques of the hotel. We launched it in 2004, and out of this first launch came an exposure that brought us to consider very quickly the possibility of making a separate company to commercialize the fragrance, because in the following 3-4 months we started having requests for what at the time was only one fragrance. So we mounted a company, we started working on the second fragrance, and 9 years later we are here with a full collection of 10 fragrances, each of which represents something very Italian, either a place, a state of mind, or a historical thing of Italy. The fragrances are each of them very defined. They have very, very precise personalities. They're all very different from each other. From these, from the first one, we also derived a full line of toiletries, a body line, which first was made only for the hotel, and then we started getting demand, so it was done in a bigger size, and it was what we call in our own language like an organic growth. We started with a very different idea and we ended up being a fragrance company.
And which are the ingredients that you use?
Ingredients, it's an interesting thing because we always start from an idea. Let me make an example. For the first fragrance, Eau d'Italie, Eau de Toilette, we wanted to work on what for us was the smell of Positano in summer, which is a smell of terracotta heated by the sun. Imagine the terracotta of the tiles on terraces, on the tiles on roofs, and it's like a mineral smell. So in order to get there, we started working with Bertrand Duchaufour, the perfumer we made the fragrance with, and we reached the first accord around which we then built the whole fragrance. And that was one way, whereas in other cases, for instance, our fragrance Magnolia Romana, we wanted to work on the idea of a flower that was truer than nature. In other words, we realized that most magnolias in commerce tend to be too sweet compared to the natural flower, so we wanted to make something that resembled as much as possible to smelling a magnolia on the tree and all the emotions that are around it. For that, it's interesting because you think of raw materials, you would think an extract of magnolia, and that is in the fragrance, but it's just a tiny part of it. All the rest you build it around it.
Yes, and what about the packaging and the design of packaging?
That's a very good question, because the design of our packaging is very different from most other fragrances. And when we first launched our fragrance, it was funny because people would come to us thinking, okay, so you'll make a fragrance in a clear bottle with a golden cap, with I don't know, a coat of arms or things like that. And whereas our idea was something very different because we wanted to make something contemporary, not a copy of an old thing. We wanted it to reflect very much Positano in its colors, so it's white with color as a background and colors on the labels. And let me put it in other words, what today is considered a classic at some point was something new. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, it was something new. For us, Eau d'Italie is a contemporary classic, something that is new, but that we want it to last, to be permanent. It has lots of lovers. There still are some people who tell you, why is it not in a transparent flacon with a golden cap? But that's what we like, this is what we believe. We can't do something that hasn't our heart in it.
Yes, of course. And which is your top seller?
Top sellers, it's a question I should know by heart, but I don't know. What I do know is that it depends on the regions. Eau d'Italie, the original, is a top seller everywhere. Some of the more complex fragrances are better sellers in colder countries. Yes, thinking as I speak, I would say that in colder countries, the warmer fragrances, whereas the fresher fragrances are loved everywhere.
So thank you very much, Sebastian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to our follower, and keep on following us on Esxence.com.